Well, welcome once again to another episode of Business Ahas. I'm Jim Hayden. We're here at Rift in South Scottsdale. And once again, we have a amazing guest on. I'm actually pretty excited because one of the few times that we have leaders on our show, or if you want to call it a show, or on our episodes, that have such a robust background in dealing with large organizations, especially here in Arizona. So founded in 1965, Universal Technical Institute with one location, went public in 2003. And for the last 7.5 years, Jerome Grant, their CEO, has been at the organization, at the helm, leading the organization, where today their market cap, and I looked a little earlier today, is at $1.86 billion. So an organization of that size, there's 30,000 students now nationwide under Universal Technical Institute. I was thinking about that today because today marks another unusual day, and that's Arizona State University, right in our own little backyard. Where in excess of 20,000 students are graduating, which is the largest graduating class in the history of Arizona State University. And to be able to service 180 plus countries and all 50 states, it's only interesting to be able to see now that Universal Technical Institute, which is nationwide, is housed right here in Little Arizona. People don't really always realize these very significant organizations in the country are based here in Arizona that are publicly traded. And I remember as a kid, watching commercials back in the 70s for UTI when they were teaching people to, hey, come be a mechanic. And obviously things have been diversified since then many, many times. So with that, I'd like to welcome Jerome Grant, the CEO of Universal Technical Institute.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Great to be here.
I'll tell you, when I was going through the intro, I got little goosepimples because growing up as a kid, I remember really watching those commercials. And being a native of Arizona, it just really touches my heart to see how much the organization, I'll be quite frank, since you've been there, has really turned the organization around.
Thanks so much. We're really proud of what we're doing.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share about your organization? You like maybe that I missed on the?
Oh, sure. No, I mean, Universal Technical Institute has been around since 1965, celebrating our 60th anniversary. We're proud that we'll be ringing the bell in the New York Stock Exchange on the 19th.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
At 19th of this month.
Yeah, 19th of this month. We now have two divisions. We have Universal Technical Institute, which trains in transportation, skill trades, and energy. And we have the Concord Career Colleges, which is 17 campuses around the country that train in healthcare skills. And the thing that binds our company together is that these are all skills where the supply and demand curve is just so wildly out of whack. And that the demand will always be very high for them. And we're doing our best to try to close that gap.
Fascinating how you've even diversified the delivery of services based upon the need within the United States.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. I'm really curious. Let's kind of back up to whatever year this was that you said, I'm going to work for UTI and I'm going to become their CEO. I'm sure that wasn't your plan 10 years ago.
No, it wasn't. Actually, I will say that I grew up in higher education. Can I tell you a story about that?
Sure.
Yeah. So I was at the Thanksgiving table in Racine, Wisconsin with my father.
Okay, where's Racine, Wisconsin?
It's just north of the border with Illinois. My father was a corporate executive for SC Johnson, had just retired, and he was a college professor. Big Packer fan, the normal Wisconsinite. And we're sitting at the table, and my first career was actually in retail. I was a buyer for a retail department store chain. And I said to my father, I don't think I want to do this. This wasn't what I really thought. I was in my 20s. And he said, hey, there's these people that come to my office. He goes, they're real bright kids, real energetic. They have no idea what they're talking about. You'd be good at that.
Thanks, Dad.
About 3 weeks later, I had a job for Addison Wesley Publishing, which is part of the Pearson family, which is the largest education company in the world. And I followed in my dad's footsteps by working my way through the company in 24 years. From a sales rep in Wisconsin, product manager, ran their sales force, to running one of their global higher education divisions.
How long did you work for them?
24 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a long time. That's part of the story.
Okay.
Right? That's part of it's part of the
journey.
Yeah. But you grow up thinking to yourself, and being with a father who worked for SC Johnson for 27 years, that this is how a career goes.
Well, wait a minute. I'm doing the math. You're 40. How does that work then?
Yeah, exactly.
There's an age gap here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the $20 bill coming your way.
Okay.
But that's what I grew up. Good Wisconsin born. Father worked for 27 years before he retired and moved on to being a college professor for his company. And that's what careers are. You dig in, start from the bottom, move your way up. get all the way to wherever you can get in it, and that's how you craft a career. And so that was the pattern that I had in my life. I moved from Wisconsin to Boston to New York, moving up through the organization, and that's what I really believed my career was going to look like. Again, all around higher education. Well, things change. Pearson changes their direction, decides that they're going in another direction, and I decided that wasn't a direction that I wanted to go. So I left, and I always knew that around the table of higher education there are a lot of different players. There are players who provide content. There are players that provide technology. There are players that provide services, but the real players are the people who deliver education.
Right.
We talked about ASU,
Sure.
the new American university,
Yeah.
over 100,000 students.
Crazy.
And so that's an opportunity that presented itself here in Phoenix, which was the company was going through a transition period and was looking for someone who had a background in higher education.
So did you learn all that while you were still there? You just mentioned the things or the pieces, and it all boiled down to the delivery of education. I'm assuming you developed that hypothesis over the course of time while you were working there.
Absolutely. I mean, you know everyone sitting at the table. They're your customers, your partners, they're your vendors, they're all around the table.
And you met with all those folks in your career.
Absolutely.
I mean, geez, almost 30 years.
I met with the people from Universal Technical Institute. It was, so you know everything about just about every higher education institution in the United States when you come from a place like Pearson.
And then that led you to UTI.
It did.
Yeah, go ahead.
It did. They were in a place where they needed someone who could effect a transformation. And in my career, 24 years at Pearson, it was a number of projects doing just that. Internal investment to take a growth market somewhere where it hadn't been before. Transform a business that maybe wasn't the way it should be moving forward. Take the company digital. All these are transformation efforts that I really enjoyed doing.
So I have a question for you right there for 1 second.
Sure.
You said they realized they needed to go through a transformation. What happened briefly during that period that made them realize that, and then what made them decide you were the guy?
UTI had 10 campuses around the country in 2016. They had dropped from about 20,000 students in those 10 campuses down to 8.
Oh, so they knew they needed a change.
Right. They had a injection from an investor in 2016 to, in a sense, save the company. And they were looking for someone that they believed had this transformation background that could invest the company and take it in another direction. And that was a connection point that I had with UTI.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so we went about a transformation effort. We changed the way we acquire students. We changed the way we teach students. We changed the size of our campuses. We built a group that really came together as a team to turn the tide. While turning the tide, we then developed a growth and transformation plan. We call it our North Star strategy. It's out there in the market as what we talk about. And that was really around a few basic principles, which was we can grow geographically and with more programs, and we can diversify so that we can help more people in the skills gap, i.e. healthcare, right? And that's the plan we put into place back in 2019 after we turned the company. And the first 5 years ended last year. Now we're on our second phase.
So you started in 17, 18?
17, 18 were the transformation efforts.
When you started.
Exactly. Exactly. And that was really turning the company from the direction it was going to a stable platform we could build upon.
And then COVID happened.
It's great. We raised about $55 million in February of 2020 to start the growth and diversification plan. It was the smartest thing we ever did. Not that I saw COVID coming, but it was the smartest thing that we ever did. And it really carried us through and helped us continue on our path of growth because we had the financial backing to be able to move forward with our plan.
So when you made this transition to come in, did they recruit you to come here?
They did. Actually, a good friend of mine who's the president of one of the universities here in town heard about the opening. And after asking questions of the folks that were looking, our board members, et cetera, that were looking, he said, you really want Jerome Grant for this job. He's a builder. He's a person who's going to help you transform and build this. And we crossed paths at Pearson in the earlier years, but I credit them very much for telling me that this job was here. I'd been in and around the Valley for a long time. Both of my boys had attended ASU, either in graduate school or undergrad. So I'd been in and around the Valley for about 20 years, whether it was with them or vacationing and things along those lines. And so when a job comes up in the Phoenix area, it was a great opportunity.
Interesting. So when you were at Pearson and you went through this, in a sense, understanding in your own head that education of these students is really where it all starts, at what point did you realize that your calling was to lead that type of an effort? When you got that job or before you got the job?
Well, as I was departing Pearson and I was looking at where in this ecosystem I thought that the next big challenge would be, the next big grow challenge could be within it. And just about everyone else in the ecosystem is actually an additive part to the ultimate challenge, which is educating. And so, I started looking at schools that I could lead as a president or some other function. And, it wasn't long, a few months later, when this opportunity came up, and it was really a great combination.
So you said you were looking for schools as a potential president. So you actually already had made the decision. This is my calling.
Yeah, I had.
And then when this opportunity came along, it was like the perfect fit.
It was. It absolutely was. Well, it didn't look perfect at the time.
Sure.
You mean you've got a school that's fallen that far in that period of time. You're starting to think to yourself, okay, what's under the surface?
But as a driven human, which you are, you probably saw that as a challenge you probably liked.
Oh, I did. Fair? Especially when you look at the ingredients that weren't being used to build what was being built here.
And moreover, the ingredients you had on your arsenal.
Exactly.
That they weren't aware of.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So that was that, when you realized that, and then that came together when your friend reached out to you and said, the university president reached out to you and said, you know what, this opportunity is a really great fit for Jerome, and brought it to your attention. If that wouldn't have happened, you kind of wonder what would have happened to the organization. Not that you're the linchpin, but you wonder. Well, Jim, I probably am the linchpin. Yeah.
Now you give me the 20 back now.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Well, not quite. I'll hold on to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's unclear. I mean, they did have other candidates, some great people. I've actually hired some of them to bring them into the organization to help me, because they were very strong and high quality people who really thought differently about education, thought about digital education and how you could evolve the educational experience. So, but yes, I mean, we put a really great team together, and this is where we've gotten.
Fascinating. So 7.5 years. Talk a little bit about when you started 7.5 years ago to where the organization is today. What milestones have you accomplished that are because of you, your leadership, the leadership that you brought in to kind of where you are today?
Yeah. So when I got there, we had 10 campuses, 8,000 students, about $300 million in revenue, and not any profit. It was not profitable at all.
Wow.
Market cap of somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million.
$50 million.
Yeah. I mean,
versus the 1.8 and almost 1.9 billion today.
If it would have been sold at that time, likely it would have been sold for pieces or things along those,
Sure.
or destination, et cetera. Now we've got 30,000 students on 32 campuses in healthcare and the trades. We're in the mid $800 million range and about $130 million in EBITDA. And it's still climbing.
Hang on a second. That's something that's just to shake a stick at. That's remarkable.
Well, the
right.
Well, thank you very much. But we see it as a mission. I mean, in doing that, we still have not even made a scratch or a nick in the side of the problem we're trying to solve, which is there just aren't enough middle skilled workers here. There aren't enough welders. There aren't enough HVAC techs.
Really, not even a scratch.
No. And by the way, when I'm done, whenever that happens to be, we still will not have made a scratch.
Well, at 40, you probably got another 30 years left.
Another 30 or 40 years.
$20 million back.
Yeah. But one of the things we pride ourselves on is there are 4 or 5 jobs for every one of the UTI graduates, 5 to 10 jobs for every Concord graduate. And with the aging demographic and the workforce transitioning, it will only get larger.
And so those individuals that are graduating, they get their pick of the litter.
They do. And that's actually part of the formula, which is part of the transformation is we organized access to our students by the employment community by how good are the deals they get. And so what we've done is driven up wages, driven up packages and things like that in order to get access to the rarest commodity, which is a graduate.
Supply and demand. And I'm the supply and you are the demand.
Right. And prior to working on this concept of partnership wasn't really a partnership. Right. This is a partnership where people are investing in order to get something that I have, and I'm investing in the education in order to give them a product that they want, which is a very highly trained student. And so we went about evolving this concept of partnership to make sure that everybody had skin in the game, and specifically on behalf of the students, because the way you become very successful in this business is to have a very high quality student. We graduate 70% of our students. We get 85% of them jobs in market in the first year. And if you look at a community college, their average graduation rate is around 30%. And so it's it's a mission that we're on to try to do this in a very successful way. And that's what allows you to grow and allows you to move to the next city and allows to do what we're doing.
Wow. Thanks for sharing all those details.
Sure.
Man. Okay, let's go to the big moment. That aha. So you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Probably been thinking about it.
Yeah.
In your professional career, what has been, I'm sure you've had plenty.
Yeah.
But what has been that most aha moment you've had in your career to date?
Well, Jim, that's a great question. And I have thought about it. It's a bit controversial. And actually, as I talked it through with my wife, she said, I don't think you want to go with that. But I will anyway, which is culture is a double-edged sword. Right? We always talk about building a culture within a company and that the culture is what's going to drive the company. And I very much believe that the right culture within a company is what's going to drive it. I think one of the things that is one of the most prohibitive things to being successful is when there's an ingrained culture in a company that's just not going to move. Not going to move because the world has moved, because what we need to do is move, and we need to evolve. And so, what I was trained in business school and the like was you really want to embrace the culture of a company and get something out of it as best you can. When that's not always possible. It's just not always possible. Sometimes you have to work to evolve or actually even change the culture of the company.
Okay.
Give you an example?
Yes.
Okay. UTI is a very passionate company about the mission. They care deeply about the students. They care deeply about the mission of solving this middle skills problem.
Fair.
Right? Sometimes you can do that to the detriment of expanding your business or expanding your mind around your business. We've been teaching this way for 55 years.
So that culture has been ingrained for 55 years.
Exactly.
So be careful what you ask for.
Exactly. And we've turned out fantastic students in those 55 years. And by the way, they had turned them out. But if you think about scaling or if you think about moving your business to the next frontier, you think about things like, what about digital education? Well, you can't do that because we've never done it before in the last 55 years. Well, now we successfully have taken 50% of the curriculum online, and the 50% of UTI where you're actually working on the cars is all on ground. Students are only in our business for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, where they used to be 6 or 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. So why is that so important? Well, people have lives. Right? And if you only have to be in our building for 3 hours, you have the rest of the day to do your job or to take care of your family.
To be part of your life.
To be part of your life.
Sure.
And the online work you can do in the evening, you can do whenever you want to. When we had students in school for 6 or 7 hours a day, this was their life. They didn't have room for anything else. And so what that did is it enabled them to keep their jobs, to keep moving forward while they were training for a new career. It also opened the door to a whole different group of people who looked at the curriculum and said, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week for a year, I can't do that.
So what's the other double edge?
What's that?
Of the sword for culture?
Well, the good edge of the sword of a culture is that you can redirect. Right? And what people need to do is to find their way to the other end under the edge.
And the other side of the sword?
Is a culture of change and innovation and a culture of moving forward, which is hard. It's one of the hardest things.
But hard for certain humans, which is actually most of the population.
Most humans.
But not you. You welcome it.
Yeah, but we'll go back to the beginning of the story where I spent 24 years at one place. It's hard. It was my culture. It was my mission. It was what I wanted to do and how I thought I would spend the next 25 years since I'm only 40.
Right. Exactly.
So it's very, very hard to get on the other side of that. But when you're on the other side of it, now what we have is what I feel we've got an organization that's very strongly fueled. They're fueled to find the next innovation. They find that the culture is really not just about the student or the instructor or the employer, but also about how we can evolve this to make it better for all three of them.
The experience.
Exactly.
How we improve their own life as a human.
Exactly.
What they want to do as opposed to being tied to a desk.
Yeah. So the new culture is very much more entrepreneurial. We think of things like, are you brave? Are you imaginative? Right? Are you decent?
Words that probably weren't used 50, 60 years ago.
No, the words in that time frame were, we just care. And this is the way we do it. And we've always done it this way. We were able to unlock a new level of growth, a new level of diversification by taking off the shackles of what was a fantastic culture for its time, but needed to evolve.
Interesting. So if I can maybe summarize, would it be fair to say from your perspective that I'm going to use the word wholesome, the Midwestern culture and how it's been ingrained in that Midwestern, you work really, really hard and you really get bloody knuckles where you work and you get them bloody again. That's been one of the driving forces that's driven you to continue to make change and make a difference. And now using that same culture, if you will, because that history from 60 years ago, it's hard to change.
Yeah, it really is.
Would you say though that it is a lot to do with obviously where you're from as well?
It is. But I had to learn some things too.
Sure.
I had to learn how to apply that Midwestern, mission-driven, company-driven, loyalty-driven to the project or to where you want to go with it.
It's fascinating that there's an understanding that there's two sides of making that level of impact to culture. And that other side, that double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing, man.
Sure. That's quite all right.
Wow. What made you go back after your conversation with your wife? She told you, no, Jerome. To say, you know what, I'm going to do it. What was her rationale? Curious.
The concept of attacking culture is not a popular concept.
You're right. I don't think you attacked culture.
Right.
I think you, but go ahead.
Right. And so I think there's a subtlety to understanding about redirecting or creating a new culture versus, killing the culture of a company.
As opposed to saying the impact has been so profound, it's actually changed the organization, we hope, in a better way.
Yeah. Yeah. And people asked me when I got there, they had been doing layoffs for 5-10 years during that time frame from every year. And they asked me, first speech I had with them, they said, are the layoffs over, Jerome? And I said, listen, I've got a view that when we're done here, there are going to be a lot more people working here. At that time, there were 1,100. Now we're at about 4,000.
There
right?
you have it.
What you're doing may not be what we're doing. So I can't promise you that you will be here. But there are going to be opportunities for you to retrain. There are going to be opportunities for you to think about where you want to go in the company. And it's going to be a much larger and diverse company. Some people got scared by that.
And some people then prevailed?
That was the culture. And a lot of people prevailed and moved forward.
Fascinating. So you've almost quadrupled in size of staff. So I guess it'd been nice back then to be able to say, in less than 10 years from now, we're going to have 4 times more staff than we have today.
Yeah.
You probably weren't expecting that.
No, we weren't expecting that.
Well, it's interesting. You said something when you very first started talking about your aha moment. You said the culture of the organization, and correct me if I misquoted you, the culture of the organization is basically depicted based upon what the organization depicts for a culture to be.
Well, I'm going to have to think about that for a minute.
The organization
right.
designs whatever the culture is going to be.
Exactly.
Jerome doesn't get to decide.
No.
It's the organization that decides.
Yeah.
So that double-edged sword, irrelevant of what the other side of the sword is, the organization decided. Period.
Yeah.
And good, bad, indifferent, ugly, whatever people want to kind of slice and dice it, at the end of the day, the organization decided to make that radical of a change.
Absolutely.
That you're still going through.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It's great having you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Was incredible. I think that, I hate to say the word cerebral, but really I started thinking to myself of, they talk about culture, transformation of culture, and Jerome did that, but he didn't do it. I think you really think about it, what's happened in the organization and them deciding what their culture is, it's the culture of the organization is what it's evolved into, irrelevant of where you are or who drives it or who's the marching pieces. It's the organization that decides. So I think thinking about that is going to be very interesting moving forward. So as you think about your culture, the culture you're involved in, the culture you want to change, understand that it's much more than just you. So on behalf of our entire team at Board Developer and Business Ahas, and we look forward to our next episode. And Jerome, man, it was great having you again. And until next time, everybody, take care. Bye.